of the program. And there's a lot of exciting things that we see happening on the field. There's flashes of really explosive play and some young players that are coming on, but this is about winning. It's about not deferring success. It's about playing better, and we got to play better. So until we capture those margins, until we clean up our game, we're going to again leave the game to chance, the outcome to chance, and it comes down to how the opponent plays. UNLV was able to capitalize on our mistakes and come away with a well-earned victory. Obviously, we shift attention this week to Kentucky, which is, I've said in the past, I got a ton of respect for Coach Stoops and his program. I think in so many ways, as I accepted this position, I looked at the build he undertook at Kentucky and saw a lot of parallels. Really admired the way he developed that program over time and now has established sustained success. And so they're a great model for that in the league. I think he's also supplemented his roster effectively in the transfer portal, and they're a really good team. And as we turn the page and we get our focus set on Kentucky and playing our best this weekend, it's important that internally that we don't spend time forecasting. We're 2-2. All our goals are out in front of us. We have better results awaiting us if we train and decide to play better football. And it's certainly a year ago we sat and we were at this moment 3-1, and we ended up playing poorly in 5 consecutive league games, and we know at this moment that we have to be beyond that. Our performance will be our focus this weekend, and we need to collect and capture the margins that we need to win in to have a chance to win at home against a league opponent. We are banged up, and so that's another part of the challenge. But that's kind of as we enter this midseason stretch to be expected here 4 games in. Christian James will be out this week, but he had a minor setback after the trip to Wake Forest. Assuming he progresses the way we think that he'll progress this week, there's a chance that he could be available for us next week. We're hopeful for that. Want to see progress there. Savion Riley's questionable, still dealing with upper body injury, hasn't been able to return to practice yet. DeRicky Wright, questionable, still battling an ankle injury. He's been such a warrior the last 2 weeks, had to play a ton of snaps. I got so much respect for him. And unfortunately, this is going to be something that persists up until we have a chance to rest it. B.J. Anderson's probable. He was able to practice today, no issues. Gunnar Hansen's probable. He was limited today, but is feeling better. Had a slight injury in the game on Saturday, was able to return. Grayson Morgan is questionable, wasn't able to practice today. We're going to give it a go tomorrow and see where he is. If he can get some work in by Thursday, I would expect him to be able to go on Saturday. Just dealing with a back issue that's nothing major, but nagging enough to have kept him out today. C.J. Taylor, who was banged up in the game on Saturday, is probable, was able to get work in today. Junior Azebu is doubtful for the weekend, and then Jalen Mahoney questionable too. He wasn't able to finish the game, and he did not practice today, though I think he's feeling better, and I'm hopeful to see him back doing something tomorrow and maybe in full participation Thursday. We have to see how he responds. So that's going to require a number of guys to prepare as though they're the starters, and gives us a chance to showcase our depth and for people to have opportunities to carve out roles for themselves. So we're excited about that, and looking forward to the challenge of the week, and looking forward to being back at home and playing against Kentucky. So with that, I'm happy to open up for questions.
Just as far as injuries go, there's a couple other longer-term ones I wanted to follow up on. First of all, Prince Colley, and then Arrington Truesdell and Steven Seminiola. How are they?
Steven was able to do. Steven had surgery in the off season. Was able to do agility work today, so he's on a progression. And I would imagine that in the next couple weeks that we might see him be able to get back to practice. You know, I think at this juncture and with the amount of time he's missed, which was the entire spring too, and most of last season, that this would be a year that we'll bank for him, just because he's going to need time to reacclimate. If we can get some work out of him before the end of the season, that'd be great. But I think this is an important year for him to get back that extra year of eligibility. Arrington Truesdell has been dealing with the back, still not responding in a way that allows him to be out with us. He's still obviously with the team and training, just not out at practice. Who else did you ask about? Prince Colley returned to practice today. Again, it's one of those. He's been out for a while, and so he's got to get back in shape. It was good to see him out there. He's got a year that he can hang on to as well, and so we'll see how he recovers and what kind of impact he can make. But that may not go beyond 4 games. Is there anybody else there?
Those were the 3 that
Okay. Yep.
Last year's game against Kentucky was such a program-defining win. What are some of the things that you really focused on last year that you can bring back on Saturday?
Well, I was really sick, and I don't know if that means that I need to get sick again. No, it really, I really appreciate the question. I think in so many ways, I would say rather than program defining, I would just maybe correct and say it was a great, it was a great win for last season, and it was a win that I thought on the back end of some really challenging losses showed the value in persistence and again, the reward for a group of guys that, and I said this through tears after the game, but that stayed in the fight, stayed in the fire. Each week we called them into more, and we grew to a point where we were able to earn an ugly win on the road. If you remember, as we're on the conversation around ball security, that game started out in our first possession with a fumble, and our defense came out, held Kentucky to a field goal, and it just was a kind of a slugfest where we lost the lead late. We were able to come back and get it, and I think that's the level of resiliency we want this program to be defined by. We have improved players this year, and we have, I think, way more potential to be explosive. Again, we can't go out and fumble the ball around and expect that we're going to come out on top. So you ask, how do we capture last year to this year? The timing of the win was different. The timing of the game was different. But to me, this is about trusting our process. I think it's very easy externally to hit a panic button, to start forecasting, what happened, in Las Vegas, and somehow that was assumed to be a win. For us internally, it's like we have a process, we have a journey, a track we're on, we're staying the course, and we're focused on cleaning up our play. And what this game can be for us is it can somehow capture the potential of this team if we're able to play better and put pressure on Kentucky. I think 2 weeks in a row we played against teams that are good teams that we feel like we should be in position to fight and win games. And at Wake Forest we weren't able to put pressure on them. We had flashes of good play, but we were never able to get back in that game. Against UNLV, we had the opportunity to win it at the end, but we weren't ready to win it. And I said it to the team afterwards. We didn't deserve to win that game. Until we respect what it takes to win. Again, we're going to be in those moments, and what's important now is ownership. And again, that starts with me, but owning the product that we're putting on the field, everyone in the program, to say, how do we make this better, and how do we get this thing back in focus to what we believe our team to be in terms of its potential. This week's an opportunity for us to do that. Being that we're playing Kentucky really is inconsequential. This is about Vanderbilt getting back on track and playing what we believe to be Vanderbilt football.
You made several changes to the depth chart this week with Cedric Alexander, Ryan Humphreys, and Trudell Berry and Grayson Morgan moving up. What decision making went into those changes? I'm staying committed to putting a depth chart out because I want to be able to do the best I can to
make it reflect how we're playing right now. It's really more responsive to the way we looked last week, and kind of where those guys have been positioned here for us in practice. So outside of that, really nothing. There's no obviously as we deal with injuries and we have to shift pieces around. We want to update that and kind of keep everyone informed, but that's really how we played last week, and so we wanted it to reflect that.
I know you've talked about turnovers being an issue. Do you see any common denominators in those, or anything else that's bothersome, I guess, in the way that you guys have played so far, the common denominators?
Well, let's start with the turnovers. I think what we're seeing is, I talked after the Wake Forest about better decisions with the football, and that was really pointed, at quarterback play. And I want to be really clear, AJ Swan is a very talented player, and we're so excited to have him. And I think statistically, when you look at his numbers, he's having an impressive season. But he's still learning how to play in that position at an elite level, and he will get there. But he's learning through experience right now, and I think learning when to take chances and when to take sacks, honestly. And I thought against UNLV, he actually made some decisions to throw the ball away. I think he made some decisions to run the ball that kept us, in rhythm or gave us a chance for a manageable third down. I think those are signs of improvement, progress for him. And I think the next step is, getting him through that full progression, and at times getting to the ball to the running back and doing some things where we can still facilitate on-schedule play offensively so that we're not seeing so many third and fourth downs. I think we had 22 conversion downs in the game against UNLV, and that's way too many, because what happens in those snaps, those become higher pressure snaps where you're going to see different pass rushes and different coverages, and innately you're gonna force things a little more in those moments. So first and second down efficiency has been a huge focus for us, really the last 2 weeks, but certainly coming out of last weekend's game, something we're going to focus on, to be better with Kentucky. The other turnovers, we've had 2 in special teams play. Obviously we love Wes Schelling. We believe in him. Tough moment and tough place to have a bad snap. I don't see that being an issue moving forward, but our specialists have to take ownership over specialist play, and I know he's going to bounce back. Again, we believe in him, and that was unfortunate. Again, an unfortunate spot for that to happen too. The punt return we've talked about from Wake Forest. I think when you look at the touchdown in the game from Saturday on the reverse, love the design of the play. I love the fact that we're finding ways to get our freshmen the football. I love the fact that we are designing plays around Junior Sherrill and getting him involved, because we know he can be a dynamic player. I also think in those moments where we're taking a chance, we need to be able to get out of the play versus a tough look. And in the end, there was a pressure look where there was an edge rusher that was basically running the course of the reverse. And I think that ball being snapped and that play being run, for as good as the design was and as great as the intent was, the minute the ball was snapped, we left it to chance that the ball was going to be secure with the reverse being executed. So there are things we could have done within that to help support the play along the way, but that's one structurally where we look back, or in terms of the design, like we need to be able to get out of those plays if we don't have the look we want. And so again, you start to talk about each individual, and we could spend a lot of time kind of breaking down each one. I think in general, there's a fundamental technical aspect to ball security where it's how you're carrying the ball in traffic. Is it high and tight? Is it exposed? Those are things we work and we train regardless, but we're going deeper in that work right now because, again, these issues have popped up. There's also, again, decisions with the ball that we're addressing and supporting to not force things or to know when to take your risks. There's also structural things where, whether it's the reverse or the corner blitz that hit AJ as we were going in to score, where we did fumble the ball, Cedi Alexander was able to get back onto it. But we have to have tighter protection, and that's not about getting beat in protection. That's about being within structure. So there's a certain level of connection and play there that needs to be tightened up. Those are all things we're looking at, and we know we can improve. As far as the general performance in the losses, I think, again, I've seen flashes in all three phases of strong play. I was disappointed in the 2 runs that we gave up for touchdowns against UNLV. I see that as just structural breakdowns and where we can coach it better and execute it better post-snap. I thought when we were in position and playing with our cleats in the ground that we played pretty well against the run against that team. Obviously those are areas that we need to tighten up. And then the end of the game was just, there was a lot that happened there in sequence that, certainly there's ownership all over the field, but, we let a receiver get behind us in a situation where we can't, and we learned a tough lesson as a true freshman corner, and he's going to be better for it. Unfortunately, it cost us a chance to win the game later, send it to overtime. But again, I don't look at that game and say that was the reason. To me, I think there's way more to be said about the 4 turnovers, 1 for touchdown, and just some sloppy play, really offensively, where we were unable to get a run game going and play with 11 guys on the same page.
What do you see in this Kentucky offense specifically for Vanderbilt student Ray Davis?
Ray's a good player. He was good when he was here. I mean, he's got good vision, good feet. He's got a knack for finding the space. He's got a knack for knowing when to cut back and get against the grain and break the long one. He's also a really good receiver in the pass game, and we saw that when he was here. And I see that not only are they using him as a check down option, but they're also designing catches for him in the offense, which I think is really smart because he can do that. So they have a good scheme and good players, and they've, I think, really done a nice job of solidifying their offensive line, and obviously they were able to get a running back and a quarterback out of the portal, and those guys are playing well, and they have receiver skill, some of which returns that is dangerous, and they have the ability to churn out hard yards, and to they're kind of designed to go the long hard way and to play physically and establish a run game. Those are things that they're going to do. So we'll have our work cut out for us, but it starts with us playing structured. Structure wins. So if we can get 11 guys on the same page, seeing the right things, we'll have a chance to leverage the ball and tackle it. From there, it's going to be how we cap the explosives, right? And that's been something we've talked about all season. And then when they run against zones, overs, and 7 routes where they're getting the ball into the open spaces and zones, who's responsible for that? Who's going to be on body? Who's going to be there to down it? Again, no performance is going to be perfect. How are we building to the stop and forcing them into third downs where we have a chance to hopefully create some disruption.
When Ray Davis went into the portal, did that surprise you?
I don't think that we can be surprised by anything anymore. I think it's that's college football in 2023, and I'm happy for him that he found a home, having success, and excited to compete on Saturday. But we're just not going to be worried about that or be bothered by that. I mean, that is what it is.
Did he tell you about what his reasoning was for leaving?
We sat down and talked about it, and there's always layers to things that I don't know that I need to talk about now, but it was a great conversation, and at that point he was exploring options, and one of which was an NFL future, and then the possibility of playing his last year of eligibility somewhere else, and I supported the decision, and just like I do anytime, it's my job is to not control, but to support, to be behind young people as they try to, plot their way in life and have the best experience they can. So, yeah, it was a good conversation, and, I look forward to seeing them on Saturday.
Did you consider turning to the transfer portal to try to find running backs, or were you always planning to stick with the players that you already had?
Well, we stick with the players we have because that's what this program's defined by, and that's an essential part of being developmental. And I said this early on. I forget when, if it was my first press conference or the first SC Media Days, but we've never insinuated that we're going to skip steps here, that we're somehow looking to find a cheat code or a shortcut to results. We want to build the foundation first, and that is hard, and that's, again, we're dealing with the last 2 weeks some really painful things that we have to fight through and grow through, but you're also seeing a big part of my job is to hold the vision for the program, and I can see on the field the program that we've set out to build, and I wish that the world could see it, because I understand that people are impatient and they want to see the results happen now. But again, this is where, for me, it's about staying the course. And the other part is, the portal in and of itself and NIL and all that stuff is that is a behemoth. That is a whole subculture to college football. And for us here, again, we're focused first on the foundation of our program, on the foundation of a developmental program, on supporting the experience of the players that we have, paying attention to our roster as it is right now, and growing and developing people through the experience. Opportunities to supplement our roster through the portal, we'll always look at that. But we also have to recognize the fact that by definition is transactional. And so, we're developing those systems and that ability to be involved where we need to, and that'll never be for us in a way that's, you're going to look up and see, half the roster in and out. I just don't think that that's sustainable here. So what we'll do is look to have a strategic approach there that allows us to support the roster that we built, that we've retained, that we've developed, and keep the culture intact as we strengthen our team.
Although you had a low rate of players that transferred, there's a high number of players, not just this season but from the past 2 seasons, who transferred to another SEC school and are now on other SEC rosters. Does that hurt an extra amount when players choose to leave to go to a conference rival?
No. Like I said, I don't get bothered by that at all. I think it's, look, we ultimately are in the roster transformation business. And that means we are recruiting and developing, we're retaining where we can retain, but at some point, and especially when it comes down to 6 years of eligibility, at some point you have to make room for young people that you've brought into the program. And so those decisions aren't always one way. Those are really a lot of times collaborative decisions about what the vision looks like and what the future looks like. And, again, we don't flinch with that stuff. What I hope for is anyone who's graduated from Vanderbilt, who's given up this program, I wish for them to have great success, and I support them in any way I can. And, I feel a level of connection to those guys and their experience moving forward, and I stay in touch with them, So it's not something that we're worried about. What we're focused on is again growing up the young talent in our roster, about reinforcing the experience of the players that have chosen to stay and that we've chosen to stay, and continuing to build this program forward, making sure that we're not skipping steps on the foundation, which is most important right now to us.
Anything else? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.